Former President Donald Trump's lawyers say the Supreme Court should not decide now if he can be put on trial for trying to overturn the 2020 election results. That request to the High Court follows the decision by Colorado's High Court to remove Trump from that state's primary ballot, an issue that the justices may have to decide as well. CBS News chief elections and campaign correspondent Robert Costa is joining us now from outside of the Supreme Court. Oh, so many roads leading us to the Supreme Court. Robert, the court has its hands full with cases connected to former President Trump. Can you sort of break down what they'll be looking at?
Good morning. So often as a political correspondent, I find myself in Iowa or New Hampshire or South Carolina, a little warmer than it is right now here in Washington, D.C. But right now I'm here outside the Supreme Court because this is becoming a crucial crossroads in the upcoming presidential election. You have former President Donald Trump as the Republican frontrunner, but his fate legally and politically could be decided by what the Supreme Court decides to hear in the coming weeks and months. Three things to pay attention to. Number one, Trump is going to have his case on presidential immunity possibly heard by the Supreme Court and whether he can be immune from prosecution because of his status as a former president. Number two, the Colorado State Supreme Court has decided that Trump cannot be on the ballot in Colorado. The Supreme Court could make a decision there. And then number three, if Trump is convicted in that upcoming federal trial being led by special counsel Jack Smith, an appeal would be heard where else but the Supreme Court.
And as you were talking, I thought, geez, they're all somewhat interconnected, because if he can't be tried for his involvement in January 6th, then presumably he can't be convicted of a crime related to that, which is also part of the reason why the Colorado Supreme Court said he should not be on the ballot, because they felt that he was instrumental in an insurrection. They're all tied together in a knot. How are Trump's rivals responding to these developments, though? You would think that this would be an opportunity for them to go right after the former president and the one person who's leading in the polls.
They all are tied together in a knot. That's a good way of thinking about it, because this Colorado State Supreme Court decision in particular, it raises questions about whether Trump will be eligible to be on the ballot in more than a dozen other states where he's facing related lawsuits, similar lawsuits about his status as a candidate because of his role on January 6th. Many of his critics are putting in these lawsuits their charge, their allegation that he engaged in an insurrection and he should therefore not be allowed to be a candidate. But know who's not making that kind of argument? Most of Trump's rivals. Whether it's Florida Governor Ron DeSantis or former Ambassador Nikki Haley, they're not out there saying Trump's an insurrectionist. They are saying, though, that Trump's chaotic. That's a word Nikki Haley, the former ambassador, has used repeatedly on the campaign trail, saying there's too much chaos around Trump and it's time for Republicans to move on. And that message is helping Haley gain in the polls. There's a new St. Anselm poll out yesterday that shows her gaining in New Hampshire now at 30% compared to Trump at 44%. Those numbers are related and echo what we saw in the CBS News poll just a few days ago in New Hampshire as well.
Really interesting. I mean, not even Chris Christie is saying that, and he's the one that's been the most openly critical of the former president. The strategy is fascinating. Bob, thank you very much.
Thank you.